Josh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear now?
I can hear you now.
Perfect. So let's go. Let's restart that again. So I want to welcome everybody. It is Wednesday, November 16th, 2022 at a bright and early, not really, 8:02 p.m. And I am joined tonight by my co-hosts Swiggy, and Gavin's going to join us later tonight. Swiggy, we all know why we're here right now at 8:02 p.m. on a Wednesday. And you know why we're here.
Because the only thing on is Maction.
No, we're here to do the one thing and celebrate a man's achievement that it took him so long to do.
Which achievement would that be?
We're obviously here to celebrate Ash Ketchum finally winning the Pokemon League last year. I mean, he's every employer's dream, 25 years of experience in a 10-year-old. Like, he's every employer's dream with it. I mean, obviously, like, it came down to Pikachu versus Charizard, and everyone thought that Charizard was the mascot, and Pikachu went, now hold up. I laughed because I watched that episode and I chuckled because everyone was complaining about like the animation and the stuff before, and clearly that's where 50% of the budget went because it was fantastic. So, Swiggy, how are you doing tonight?
Can't complain. Can't complain. Like I said, just watching Western Michigan play Central Michigan in a snow globe.
I mean, that's always fun at snow globes.
Yeah.
Gotta always love the ice balls. You always gotta love the snow. So
Well, well, Browns Bills. They're predicting 3 to 6 feet of snow for that game.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it all depends too if Josh Allen will play, because right now, at least from my fantasy, he uh was questionable, and I don't know why he's questionable at the moment.
Um, his elbow. That was the same thing that they were sketchy about last week, but who knows?
So death, taxes, and elbow. Oh
Basically,
goodness. I mean, it could be just like last time where it's like he just needs some rest from it, and then he throws for an ungodly amount.
yeah.
So who knows? Who knows with it? I mean, there's been so many damn injuries in the NFL as of late. So
But I mean that's the NFL though. So
yeah, and I mean that's true, but it seems like it's been an overabundance. I'll put it that way. And I think that's fair. So, Swiggy, while we're waiting on Gavin, let's do the question of the day. I've got two questions of the day for you.
oh
So,
boy.
first one, do you consider OUFlagGuy's a rivalry?
No,
And
no,
why
I
not?
don't. It's too one side to be a rivalry. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of is in like, I'll say it might be a minor rivalry, in the sense that we, I just don't think so. Because to be a rivalry, you have to be able to like ruin someone's season, and no matter how bad you are, you have to go in with the feeling that okay, we have a chance to win. Like even Auburn last year, Auburn was so bad, but they almost knocked off Bama. And I just, even though Bama wins a lot of the time with Auburn, Auburn wins enough and like knocks them off enough that that you feel it. It's just too historically one sided. It's just too one side for a rivalry.
Yep, yep. Um, Gavin, welcome aboard. I want to give Gavin a shout out for being right about the Bixby and Jinx game about 2 weeks ago. We took last week off because honestly, guys, I ate something that just did not agree with me. Just could not had it. Not that I got food poisoning or anything. It was just too much grease with it. And unfortunately, once you reach past the age of 30, your body just decides to decompose. It's one of two things. And unfortunately, my body has decided to decompose. So it is what it is. Gavin, how are you doing tonight? And why are you also celebrating the fact that Ash Ketchum is the number one trainer worldwide?
I mean, look, it took like nearly 25 years for a 10-year-old to basically become a world champion at this point.
Like I said earlier on the live stream, every employer's dream.
Yeah,
Every employer's dream.
yeah. And it's like, great, now we got to the pinnacle of success. And the question is, now what's next? That's the
You
main
do it.
question.
If we've had that answer, do what the Bulls did. Do it again.
Mm. Yeah,
Or
you know what?
really like the Bulls, do it twice.
Or basically three-peat, retired, then three-peat again.
because we felt like it.
Yeah.
Gavin, I asked Swiggy where there was going to be 2 questions of the day to make up for last week. So, first question of the day is: do you consider Bedlam a rivalry? Yes or no?
Oh, I mean, the problem is, it's hard to consider it a rivalry when you get beaten 90 times out of 100. So, no. I kind of consider it as like big brother, little brother. Not compared to Michigan or Michigan State, but because big brother is the more dominant one that little brother has.
And the thing is, like I was saying earlier, you have to be able to ruin someone's season with it. Like it's not even if we win 90% of the time. If the 10% of the time Oklahoma State won, it ruined our season. Then you know what? I'll give it enough credit to be a rivalry game. But
Oh, well, to the other point, though, Swiggy, there were a few. There was like maybe one time I can maybe remember. I would probably go back to the 2013 season
yeah,
where OSU won. They would have won the Big 12 title, and OU basically took that away.
yeah. But for us doing it, that's fine. I'm saying Oklahoma State has to do at least something against us to ruin our season. So
And if you take it into consideration for it, this one's weird because just because you're in state does not make it really a rivalry. And I stand by that. Just because schools are in state does
but
not
I
mean.
love
Yep.
the Tulsa rivalry.
I mean,
And
that's OSU's real rival.
I mean, Oklahoma Tulsa is a rivalry. No, it's not. It's not even anywhere close to that. I mean,
Oh,
it, you know,
you're Gavin. Your mic is going in and out a whole lot, my man.
sorry about that.
You may have to reset it.
Sorry. I'm on
Well,
my mobile device this time and everything. I've kind of been on the road a little bit, so it's been a weird situation. Um, but as I was saying, like it's like saying if Oklahoma and Tulsa was a rivalry, it's not even close to a rivalry, and people wanting to try and hype it up, and it's like, when has Tulsa usually been really good at football? They really haven't as much or anything like that. It's the
for
same
Oklahoma
with
State
like
though,
OU and O.
they played Oklahoma State a lot closer. Oklahoma State and Tulsa, you could legitimately say it's a rivalry for that. For OU and Tulsa, no.
And the thing is, at least they share a turnpike, on 412 to get to and from, and it's easy for those two. But it's a lot
Right.
different as Tulsa, it's not really a college town or anything compared to like Stillwater or Norman or anything like that. Tulsa's more, and it's kind of like how I can say it, kind of more, more of a big, more of a city presence, if anything, than it is as a college town. You
Right.
know, I mean, it's like, college is not, college football is not really like the top priority compared to some of the, others. That's the big, main thing as well. I mean,
Correct.
from a regional standpoint for OSU Tulsa, I mean, yeah, that's one thing, but is it considered a rivalry? No, not really. It's very two distinct, tales of from the towns and all that.
Correct. Like I said, for me, I always stand by the if it's a rivalry, it's because it's in state for it. But to me, it has to be more than that, and you have to show fighting it. Now, it's the flip side of it with OU OSU. For OSU cares about it as a whole, so they care about like the entire every sport played, while OU just does not care about that at all in the slightest. Because if that's the case, OSU beats OU a whole lot with the actual like football, basketball, baseball, softball, all that combined into one on a yearly basis for it. But others just don't. We don't care about that. We don't even update it on our website for it. But they care about that because it has to be a consolation. To me, if you really want to break it down, if you're wanting to do that, sure, then take out your best sport, take out your worst sport, and take out the sports that both don't play. Because it's kind of hard where it's like, OSU claims equestrian. Well, OU doesn't do equestrian, so who freaking cares type of deal. So for that, I would say it comes down to the major sports: football, basketball, baseball, softball, and wrestling. And that's it after that. And OSU wins in wrestling, of course. I will never take that away. But it always seems like football has always swung OU side, wrestling has swung OSU side, and depending on the year, and softball has swung OU side, and then it's also, I think OU owns basketball and OSU has baseball. That's just how it is with it. While we claim national titles, they claim the national titles for basketball. We always crack the joke of you would trade everything for a football title, and they always crack it back of you would trade something for a basketball. It's that. I think the banter is really where it's at that point. So here's my second question, and we'll swing back to Swiggy. Is Charizard Ash's number one Pokemon? No. The real question is what is your one? Because I saw this on Reddit and I really like this one. What is your one hill you die on in college football, regardless of if it's right or wrong? What is the one hill?
The one hill I die on. Um,
And its own opinion. It does not have to be right. It doesn't have to
the
be wrong.
over. The way college football has always done. The way college football has always done has decided its championship is the most asinine way in the world. It's like only in college football does it turn into, well, we care about strength of schedule, we care about everything, and there's just no good way to ever tell that. I don't know if is the Big 12 strong, is the Big 12 weak? I don't know. Who knows? We only know it
Yeah,
by the end of we only know it by the end of the season, and the hill I'm willing to die on is nobody actually knows anything in college football. We talk a lot about it, but given how we've done the championships by just handing it out, it's kind of like we think you're the best one-loss team, but we don't actually know that because you don't have to play anyone. We either have writers hand it to you, or a computer, or a committee, and it's the it's the most unsports thing ever because it's like, yeah, because it's like, because you see, because you see it with TCU, people are like, oh, TCU's bad, TCU doesn't have a strength of schedule, they'll get killed, and you know what? Maybe they will, they probably will, but in no other sport. But it's the only sport where you have to beat people on paper instead of on the field. So
correct. Gavin, what is the one college football hill you are willing to die on?
Okay, and can you just define what you have as your hill real quick, so that because I have like so.
It can be anything. It's what Swiggy said about we don't for the longest time was it the best team? Was it the worst team? Some people, for example, listed that the national championship should be played on a Saturday and not like during a weekday. Others of it has said like procedural fouls should never offset personal safety fouls. Things like that with it. It
Okay.
could also be a controversial like it should only be the pack and the big for the Rose Bowl, things like that.
Oh man, there are so many. It's always so interesting. But I think, if anything, it's just, I think more than anything, the parity with me personally, and it's not an issue with like the SEC or any conference or anything, but it's like you might maybe only get like probably like what, like 5, 6 teams, and it's pretty much everybody else in the scraps for the most part.
Yeah,
I mean, I would just love to kind of see a little bit more better parity. Now, I mean, I granted, everybody can be beaten on any given day. That is for granted. But I would love to kind of see even competition and everything, because recruitment and all that and everything, that kind of goes up and pretty much talk about basically have it and recruit because most of the time talking about either Alabama or Georgia, LSU, Ohio State, or some of the you, but then everybody, and then it's just pretty much everybody else is kind of scrap out to the bottom. So you only get like basically a like few. So I mean, I would just love to kind of see a little bit more parity, if anything. That's just kind of where I would feel at, if anything. That's one of my biggest takeaways. It would make the game more interesting.
Yeah.
The thing about college football is you have to just accept what it is. You have to be able to enjoy a TCU Texas top 25 matchup on Saturday and then just go with two and then enjoy a Western Michigan Central Michigan Snow Globe game in which both teams in which it really isn't in which it doesn't matter in the big picture. Neither team is going to the championship, neither team's doing anything, but you just play because hey, it's a game and it's something to do.
Yep. I always have I mean, and for me personally, it always goes back to like, that we can talk about bowl games. We can talk about how every team, like, you shouldn't have conference where you're not playing teams like every single year type of deal with it. Um, I think mine, and I don't even know if it's controversial, to be honest. I think refs need to be held more accountable for terrible calls. I think there's a human element in it, and I know they're given grades
Oh,
at the end
actually,
of the season, but it needs to be more.
oh,
Oh, go ahead.
I take back what I said. No, no, no. The hill I'm going to die on is the replay system in college is the absolute worst system. There'll be obvious calls in which they'll just review it. Why? I don't know. Somebody told them to review it, but why is that person telling them to review it when it's clear and obvious? It kills momentum. It kills the flow of the game. That the hill I die is there is too much replay in college football, and I don't understand half of the replays they call. It's the
Uh-huh.
Actually,
worst. It's
so
the
Swiggy,
worst.
actually, funny enough, you made me change mine with it as a result
It's the
because you made me think
worst.
of it. It's the one I always. It is my hill that I die on. I understand it. I get it. In context, it is what it is. But I don't think players should be paid. I have that, and that's going to be a hill I die on. Like, look, I understand why. I get it. If I can go out and make an app for a phone, sure, I should be able to claim that. I don't think they should get any other benefits beyond their scholarship stuff. This NIL stuff, I don't agree with that at all, but I understand why. But to me, it should be a separate thing that they do on the outside that the university should have no association with. That's a hill I die on, and I know that's a controversial one. With we want the players to get paid. Well, they need to do it on their own time, not in this way just to pay players to get to schools.
It, I think another one for me would be basically like targeting, and I'm like all for it with the whole like some targeting plays to where it wasn't really targeting, that sometimes play on the ball and it's like sometimes you have to play, the offensive player lowering their head makes it look like targeting all that and everything. I think that
Target, tar-
target what Swiggy?
targeting kind of sucks, but it's one of those things that's never going to be perfect. Unfortunately, there's always going to be some poor kid who gets who gets screwed out of it. But
Now,
but given how violent college football used to be, like I mean, go back on YouTube and watch. Oh, I think it's T. I forget. I think it's I forget who it was exactly. I think it was TJ Ward where yeah, no, guys used to headhunt all the time. So
Yeah.
I get
yeah,
between that and getting like maybe a certain percentage of targeting calls kind of kind of off.
I
At least they have the review now, so it's better than nothing.
But the biggest thing for me on the targeting, it's like I get frustrated because it's one of those things to where, it's like I mean, okay, so you guys know how they always basically having call flagrant one, flagrant two, you
Yeah.
and everything. That's where I feel like like some of the targeting or like some of the hits and stuff like that should be considered in that sort of sense. Have like a flagrant one, like this. Yeah,
Well, that man. I mean, they used to do that with face masks, a 5 yard versus 15 yard, and it just turns into a mess.
yeah,
Correct. Because until they put like the hammer down essentially on it, it doesn't do anything.
And
For it.
like I said, it kind of sucks, but I, I don't know. I'd like to see a little bit more information on like targeting calls, like which ones, like what percentage seem like they aren't targeting. Because I mean, I'll be honest, most targeting calls I see, I take a look at it, I'm like, yeah, I see why that's I see why that's targeting. So
yeah,
You know what? I know my hill I die on. I do. This is one that people will disagree with the unpopular opinion. The Big 12 and Pac 12 play different type of football than the SEC and the Big 10, and it's why they haven't won it in nearly 15, 20-ish years. They play super hyper offensive that can win you games, but it will not win you a championship versus the Big Ten or the SEC, who have defensive teams for that. They may not have the hyper offenses, but they can shut you down. That's the thing I stand by. Outside of basically the stars aligning like an OU team with Baker Mayfield, where everything just went right. Yeah, that's the hill I die on. So let's move on, guys. Let's move on. Let's recap a tiny bit from the past couple weeks, and we'll move on to previewing Bedlam. So first off, obviously OU's in a rut. They are 5-5, not something that anybody expected for it. We thought they'd be bowl eligible at this point, and they have 2 games to get it right. They have the OU or OSU, and they have Texas Tech, and both of those are going to be very, very tough games coming up at this point with it. So for OU and uh what they faced last week, look, that was an embarrassment. There's no other ways around it. One sec. There's no other ways around it. They lost to West Virginia, and I mean, everyone's kind of upset that they're getting clowned on. Well, don't lose to a horrible West Virginia team. Like in a day, like they're not putting forth the effort, and I feel like they're just trying to get to the end of the season at this point so they can get a couple guys just out of the program at this point. That's my thoughts on it. I mean, there's nothing more to it.
yeah.
The playoff is turning out exactly what we think it's going to be. It's probably
Well,
going to be Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, and insert team number 4, maybe LSU, maybe Tennessee. I know they want a 3.
USC.
No, they're out. I think Pac-12's out with the losses and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. USC only has one loss, and if they don't lose again, they're not taking. They're not taking a one-win Tennessee team again. They're taking a one-win Tennessee team over a Pac-12 champ.
Which is true, but they got to get there first.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, they gotta get there. I mean, they still have to beat. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're gonna have to beat UCLA, Notre Dame, and the other Pac-12 champ. I mean, no. I mean, USC has 3 very tough games, but I mean, honestly, if USC wins out, they'll make it regardless. That said, if I'm Tennessee, just relax. Tennessee should just be in the kind of relax mode. Just focus on winning out because you just need TCU or USC to lose a game. That is all you need.
Right.
And I think there's a high chance that happens to one of those 2 teams. So if I'm Tennessee, just relax. I know it sucks right now, but you just have to. It's out of your hands right now. You just have to wait and see.
Yeah. What do you think on it, Gavin?
um, I mean, I think if anything else, so too, it's like Tennessee, is more in a better position too, because Bama's not going to be going in with the 2 losses at this point. There's going to be no way that they're going to put them through 2 losses. So if anything, I think if anything, Tennessee sits pretty, and basically if Georgia wins anyway, you're going to pretty much get like Tennessee, whoever wins, Michigan, Ohio State, and TCU. That's pretty much who it is. I just don't see the Pac-12 getting in.
I just heavily disagree. I don't think 1-win Tennessee gets in over, or 1-loss Tennessee gets in over a 1-loss Pac-12 team. Now, there's only one. They only Washington beat Oregon, and UCLA lost this weekend too. So, yeah, there's only one chance of it happening. But I just don't. I just don't see I just don't see them leaving out a 1-loss Pac-12. I mean, hey, and to be fair, even though they don't respect Clemson, Clemson could sneak in. I think they're more unlikely than USC, but Clemson's right there. If they win the ACC and have 1 loss, they'll at least have that's something they can go with.
Yeah, yeah. I do think USC and stuff would get over it. Now the question is the wild card with LSU, because I think it's going to come down to LSU Georgia, and if LSU beats Georgia, they're getting in regardless of they have 2 losses. You're not going to hold out a team that's beat Alabama, Georgia, and won the SEC. It's not happening. Like, they will get in.
Yeah.
Now, does the rest of it? I think Ohio State's going to make it. If Georgia loses, that opens up some nightmare scenarios for every other conference, because then I think they would try to justify Georgia and Tennessee to be in there, and keep or at least Georgia in there, and keep out either TCU, or if TCU goes undefeated, they'll be in, but keep out ACC and the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 has the biggest one. Now, if TCU drops this weekend, because they have dropped before to Baylor with this type of situation. If they drop, they're out. They will give every excuse because they don't.
Oh yeah.
TCU.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. TCU has to win out. I mean, TCU winning out because, well, let's face it, no one on that committee wants to start judging any Power Fives by. They just look. It's if you win out, you deserve to make it, even if people don't think you're that great. Just because no one wants to be able to say, well, we don't think this Pac-12 undefeated team is that great. You can't play that game. If you're undefeated, you're in. So
Right, and we'll get it. We'll see. It's going to pan out. I think USC will drop another game for sure, so that will eliminate the Pac-12 for it, because Oregon was their only shot, in my opinion, and now that Oregon has threw up on themselves, they're out on it. USC's kind of last one, but USC's strength of schedule is going to get hit. And to me, if we get to the point where it's like Georgia, have them win the SEC, they're in. TCU wins out, they're in. Ohio State probably going to win out, they're in. Number 4 is really going to come down to a politicking. I think it's going to be exactly like before. We don't care who we pick as number 4, because Georgia's going to smoke them, or Ohio State's going to smoke them. They're just getting the privilege to get destroyed by them. So who knows on that one. But other stuff that I could think of from recapping it, OU, if y'all have not seen, is really pushing this new NIL deal. 3 million like within like 30 days. I think it was 30 million in 30 days for it. OU was retweeting it. Coaches are really pushing it. The president's really pushing it. And just keep in mind, like the university itself cannot pay like the players for it themselves with it. Like, they're relying on the NIL for it, but it's such a loose rule. Really, like, it's like, we're not going to stop someone who's raising money for us. Like, it's the easy part for us. Now that being said, though, tying it all back together with it. Go ahead.
Can't believe that was poorly thought out.
I know, right? Let other people do it for you. But the big thing of it is something I'm keeping in mind, though, is it's the first time I've seen this, and I'm not surprised on it. Even though it's not the university involved, they're just supporting it. They're helping out as best as they can for it. There is starting to get a lot of backlash with the NIL stuff at this point, because OU itself has 4 of them right now. I believe it's this one, the one Oklahoma, the Teddy and Gabe one, and then there's something else with it. But some people are now starting to speak up, like, guys, you're you're getting too much money from us. We already pay so much for season tickets. We already do so much for game day stuff. And some people are saying, I'm not committing to this. I don't necessarily disagree with that. And don't get me wrong. I get it. I get why we have NIL. It's not going anywhere, so you have to take advantage for it. But it's hurting the normal everyday fan. And I could see the backlash why they're not happy about that. Of this is another thing I have to add in for players to come here. Like, I get it. I think it is what it is. What do you think on that, Swiggy?
I mean,
it is what it is. Like, I understand.
I don't know. I don't know. I just have no strong opinions. Obviously, this isn't what the spirit of NIL was meant to be. Like, the spirit of NIL was meant to be, we can finally put names on jerseys where instead of selling
Autographs.
autographs, instead of, you're able to, like, give guys at least, guys are able to accept some stuff. But it's like, I've said it before. I have everything they could have done. NIL and transfer portal are the absolute worst way they could have handled this, because no matter what, you're going to have this now, and you're going to have this system to where, mean, it's look at it this way
It needs
here.
to be managed.
It does, because look at it this way. What is to stop me, a rich OU booster, from going up to Bryce Young?
There needs to be a salary cap, if
And
anything.
yeah, but what's to stop me from going? Maybe not Bryce Young. Let's go. I'll go CJ Stroud. Let's say OU was good this year. They happen to go there. What is to stop me from going up and offering CJ Stroud a lot of NIL money to transfer to OU if he did not play in the championship game?
Correct.
Is
And
that
they had a starting point
is that
by saying you
fixing?
can't go into the transfer portal during the season. Like,
Yeah,
that helped.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, a guy's gonna sit out. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, is there any official rule that prevents that? Is that match fixing? Is it? Guys stay out of bowl games for draft stock and other reasons. If I paid CJC, if I don't know. I'm just saying it
It's no
opens
different.
up a lot of unethical things that can be done.
I mean, it's no different than Tebow right now apparently reaching out to Xavier Worthy at Texas trying to get him.
Yeah, yeah. You need to be able. Yeah, I've said it before. You need to have anti-tampering rules, because if you don't
And
have
enforce them.
anti-tamp, exactly. Yeah, you have to enforce them. If you don't have that, then the whole thing just turns into a look, man. At some point, guys are going to start fixing games, or guys are going to quit mid-season, or guys are going to do other things. Like, it was one thing when, I think it was, Nick Bosa. When Nick Bosa hurt himself, and instead of, he opted to leave Ohio State to focus on his recovery, because it was going to take most of the season. Like,
Yeah.
at least, like that, he didn't go to another team. He didn't do anything else. It sucked for Ohio State, but at the very least, look, the guy was going to be a top. The guy was going to be a top pick.
Right.
It's there. You can look at that and say maybe he should have played. Maybe he should have honored his decision. But if a guy's going to be injured through most of the year and only going to come back for the last 2 games, and at that point they're meaningless bowl games,
Right.
I don't blame a guy for that. If you're a top 10 pick, I get it, but that's the other thing with NIL money. It's people want to see Nick. I don't know. I just don't know. My only sense is this NIL stuff is going to get worse and cause a major scandal, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. It's going to get Congress involved at some point. So
And of course, I mean, us talking about it right now means that Missouri's just going to end up on a bowl ban.
Oklahoma, Oklahoma State ends up the only team to ever get truly hurt by it.
Because of course that's how it works. What's your thoughts, Gavin? What I mentioned, because you had to disconnect for a sec. You had another NIL thing that they're pushing $3 million in 30 days, but there is having some backlash of, we're already paying so much for season tickets, we're already paying so much for X, Y, and Z. Why do I have to throw in for this NIL outside of the common sense of, well, you're going to get the players here? They have a point. They're putting already a lot of investment. This is surpassing the normal everyday fan.
I mean, and it's not just that too, but it's also like hurting like besides that the average fan, and with like and I don't like to bring in politics, but we've also have been where prices are kind of been hard enough, to where it's hard to kind of at least get like simple stuff on every day as well, just to make a living as well. And it's like, why would I want to be, wanting to spend all the extra money and everything, supporting all, trying to go to a game and all that as well.
Yeah.
It's like the thing is, it's like, it's basically just all it is. It's just trying to basically, cash cowing more than anything, just trying to get a bunch of cash cows, in order to do all this. And,
Right.
and not and it's hard to basically do all that, so you're not just looking from a sports perspective, but it's like, why would I want to be able to do some part of this, to where I mean, and it's like, just for example, just saying, for like my financial situation, I barely make about close to, barely around nearly like $30,000 or so. So it's like, it's hard for me to kind of basically find the time or the effort, to just say, for me to go to a game or anything. But do I want to be able to do all that and everything? It's hard to really go through all of that, as well. And you're wanting to put in all this money and finances and all that and everything else to put the pay into for the players or anything. Now, I'm not saying, they should not be compensated. They should, more than anything, but it has to be within reason. And and I think, and it's kind of how I put it to the point too, to where I feel like there should be some sort of salary cap, within like some of these leagues, if anything.
Yeah.
And more into parity. I mean, that's why you have the NFL, being as strong as it is, because there is a lot of equal playing field on how they handle with their finances and all that. Well, supposed to be, and everything, into
I
that
mean,
sort of hard cap.
yeah, for the most part, with the NFL's mostly fair. The one advantage that the Patriots had with Brady, was Brady took probably a below market contract, and the and I forget exactly what it was with the Patriots, but they they hired one of Tom Brady's gurus or something. So I mean they were
But
100% laundering money there. But for the most
well,
part, yeah, you get parity. You get parity in the NFL. That's what the NFL
yeah,
wants. That's what the NFL wants. They want parity.
yeah, and the other thing too is, like, you can say you can maybe have a team that maybe might not make as much money revenue or anything like that, and yet they could still win it. I mean, okay, and I know this is kind of going in, but like, okay, we know the A's have never won a World Series, but there have been times, where they've
Hey,
been in, and everything, and not have the money or the resources that they had available.
A's have won a World
You
Yeah.
know,
Series. Not A's,
Well,
not
well, no,
recently, but
not
recently.
recently, but but I'm just saying, that they've made it to the playoffs, time and time again, and they did not have, the money or the finances, compared to some of the other, teams, like with the Yankees or the Red Sox, but they still find a way, with like what little bit that they've had.
Right.
They just need they just need to stop being poor. But I could I could spend 3 hours talking about baseball
But
economics.
but
If that
yeah,
happens, Swiggy, I'm just
but
gonna put Paris Hilton of the "Stop Being Poor" meme as your new
No,
picture.
I mean I get what
but
you're saying. It's just baseball
yeah.
economics are totally different than football economics at
No,
this
no,
point.
I
Yeah, I know.
understand that, but
I
I'm
know.
just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
But what I'm
It's,
just saying though, it's like
mhm.
I'm just saying, there are like different formulas or ways, to kind of, basically try and do that sort of principle too. For like some teams that the resources thing, and look at ways on how to basically evolve the game, too with much more better parity. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I'm just there's a I just there's just a lot that goes into baseball, and a lot of it's bad right now. That's all I'm saying with baseball. But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not gonna get into that. That's another day. So
Yeah,
which is fair.
that's another
So
topic.
then
Yeah.
well, the point I was getting at with it is it's another NIL thing. The smart thing you could do is collect it all in one things and it stop confusing fans with it as well because honestly right now this is how I'm looking at it from the flip side of it. There's 4 NILs. Who is the guys that are getting some cut from it as well? That's what it comes down to as well. Other things I wanted to mention, obviously, that Bob had his first draft for the XFL. I think Keith David and Jordan Smallwood were picked up for Bob. I don't know about defensive guys, and I don't know who their quarterback is. I tried to find that. If y'all know, please let me know who the XFL quarterback is. So that happened, of course, and then there was another thing on it. And we'll get to that at that point with Bedlam stuff with it. But do y'all have any other highlights before I move on to the question of the day, or the trivia fact of the day?
Hmm.
All I'm gonna say is I was gonna say this last week. I am eating crow. I came out very hard against LSU being a good team, and well, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time.
That's fair. That's fair. Gavin, any other stuff from the week 9, week 10?
I think if anything, I would probably say from the most part, okay, and it's kind of how I put it, and I'm going to discuss this a little later. But it's always been the problem where I've had issues with the mobile quarterbacks. That seems like to been our biggest Achilles heel more than anything. But it's
Which,
kind of
hey,
a
we're going to be talking about that today.
yeah. So I mean, and the thing is, it's like it's I mean, it's like JT Daniels wasn't getting the job done, so that was much more better on the coaching standpoint of putting Robert Green in and using Robert Green's legs as a big factor for the most part. Now, I did have some issues with the refs and all that and everything, like that personal foul for the one thing. I was
Defense,
like,
defense
But
still played well.
Gavin,
Defense
but
still played
Gavin,
well.
they apologized on Monday and said, "We're sorry."
Defense still
well,
play. Defense,
but here's the thing though. Even with
defense still
the
played
thing,
well enough to win. They still played well enough to
yeah,
Yep.
win.
but okay, and and I would say, the little, I would say weather wasn't the main factor. That's like a very minor, like very, very minor. But it was like some of that has to go back to BV, if anything, because coaching situations and stuff like that, though too, and kind of how it things out. And it's just like I always, and it's kind of like how, and I don't want to sound like Brent or anything, but it's the execution and the details. That's been the biggest issue more than anything. Sometimes they kind of get it right there, and they just don't execute. That's been the biggest issue. It's the small. It's just those small things that can lead up to a huge loss more than anything. But there's actually one tell that West Virginia did, and I don't know if any of you guys caught it, but it was basically like whenever they had a run play, tight end was leading all the way throughout the game.
Oh, we
Like
know
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just such an easy tell. It was like, okay, you want to know what where to run? Basically, go to that tight end, get him there, and then and that was just basically it. And they were like 50% of the time they stopped it, and
of the time, they pretty much, couldn't even stop it. Which pretty much says a whole lot.
Just it is what it is. So
like I said, it's just a lot of inconsistencies, and and I know these aren't quote Brent's guys or anything, but that's just what it is. It's the details and the execution.
Yeah. So let's move on to our trivia question and then move right into Bedlam preview. So trivia question is, obviously OU and OSU will play the 117th edition of Bedlam this Saturday in Norman, Oklahoma. Throughout the time with it, despite the lopsidedness, there has been a lot of entertainment with this series, especially as of late. However, the question of the day with it is, in 1983, OU beat Oklahoma State 21-20 by the pride of Oklahoma just continually playing Boomer Sooner over and over. The question is, do you know how many times they played Boomer Sooner?
Was it maybe close to, I was thinking like 114 or 115 times. It's kind of where I'm getting my head in.
Okay. What about you, Swiggy?
I'm thinking that's a lot. I know. I feel like 100. I feel 100. 114 is the right. God, I like saying 114 just because I like the number 14. But you know what? But you know what? I'm gonna do the Price is Right thing. Closest without going over 113 times.
Which is fair. So both of you are way off. According to what I had researched on it and what the number that kept popping up over and over, that day in an hour and a half span, apparently, OU, the pride of Oklahoma, played Boomer Sooner over 300 times. Which, 30 seconds,
Well, madness. That's how madness starts, kids.
I mean, that's why people hate us. I mean, that is what it is. So I'm not surprised at that number. I want to know the exact number because I tried to find, I always look for the fun stuff. I never get gotcha questions for it. But yeah, over 300 times at least. That's why they got the game ball. That's why Oklahoma State hates what's it called? The Bedlam one, or the fight song so much. So let's talk into Bedlam. So spoiler alert. Before we even get into picks, I'm picking Oklahoma State to beat Oklahoma because the way the trend has gone, I don't care what the history is. I don't care that we just completely dominated them. It seems like when a team plays at full capacity against us, we lose. We throw up on ourselves. We can't complete drives. I think the biggest thing that's going to go into this game to, however, decide how close it is or how, if OU could pull out a win, what is the health of Spencer Sanders? Because now, while they have the full unit, is he going to be 100%? And that's been going around this entire time. Is Spencer Sanders going to be able to throw? Is he going to be able to complete passes with it? It looked like he looked fine at last week, but that could have been for show to just keep us on our guard at that point of he could play potentially. There's no telling what's going to happen. This is a big recruiting weekend as well, guys, because if you have not seen, this is going to be our big recruiting since probably Kansas. And guess who is showing up on it? As the rumors look like it might be true.
Oklahoma State guy? Not Oklahoma State. A&M guy? I forget his name.
David Hicks is showing up for an official visit to OU. He never stopped because to me, the moment you make your commitment, you kind of close down your recruiting. Maybe people were right about that it was not over, and it does sound like it was not over because he is taking an official visit to Oklahoma, so he could flip from here until now. Additionally, outside of David Hicks, Peyton Bowen is going to be at the game as well. Jackson Arnold obviously is going to be at the game. Don't believe rumors about him going to Notre Dame. That's just Traber being an ass. He's being stupid. Damian Sanford, he's going to be there. Caleb Hicks is going to be there. And Nigel Smith II is going to be there, at least for what I've seen for all the recruits. There's obviously a longer list for it. David Hicks being kind of the big one, in my opinion. Like, that's a big deal that he's going to be there for it. But this is a big recruiting weekend, so OU needs to show confidence going into this game. Like, they actually need to show up. They need to take control of this game. They need to complete games, because that's going to be the next thing. Outside of what the health of Spencer Sanders is, can OU actually go and follow through on their downs? I think that's one of the biggest problems I've seen, is they cannot finish drives. And these end of the drive stuff is just, it's hurting them. It's absolutely hurting them. And I think that's going to be tied into that. Swiggy or Gavin, say something.
Oh, I mean, if anything, okay, and I'm gonna just say this. I'm like, if anything, like, I mean, this is gonna be needs to be a game to where, we got to go ahead and make sure that we get Ray going from the start, because he's been the only shining light that's been going on with this offense.
What,
lately.
Gavin? You're telling me run the ball?
Run it between the trenches.
You're telling me run the ball?
Run the ball. That's all I'm gonna say, is run the dang ball. And besides, and I'm gonna just say this. And the thing is that Levy's offensive schemes, like how he sets up his receivers and all that, are so far split to where you can actually play the numbers game in the box, and you can actually use that to your favor. And that's one thing that I really love about it more than anything, is that you can have an effective run game by playing the numbers inside, and you can always have where I always call the BYOB.
Bring your own bomb, bring your own beer.
No, be your own blocker.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I always love. It's like, once you basically take down your guy and everything, then there's nobody stopping it.
Yeah. I could say this all day and night as well with it. I mean, it's a drum being beaten into it. There has to be discipline, and you can't get penalties. And I know that's speaking to the choir at this point and not really relevant to this game, as is relevant to the entire games for it. But they haven't put together a complete game outside of a very few. I would say Kansas has been the very closest game that they put a complete.
Yeah,
game.
Kansas has probably been the only.
Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska, yeah.
Nebraska was complete.
But
that seems like so long ago. That's sad.
I'm just saying, yeah. But it was a complete game though. So
I mean, you're giving me mirror flashbacks of Schnellenberger at this point, which, I mean, outside of the drinking head coach, who couldn't probably say his name fully, it is mirrors of 1995 and 1998. The team started well, and then they fell off a cliff. No similar to Texas A&M going, ah! So, yeah. Anyway, Gavin, you go ahead.
But I was going to say, that is probably one of the biggest things. The other thing, too, it's like, and I will say, I mean, I would say the only thing defensively, the only two players I was hearing, the last few games were either Deshaun White or Danny Stutzman. Those were the only two that I felt like, I can only have confidence in. Basically, on the defensive side, I just really have had a hard time within the interior line.
Yeah.
At this point, because honestly, our interior line has not gotten any sort of push or anything, and they've been getting beaten down and pushed around, for nearly 2 yards or so or anything, and where they're getting 4 to 5 yard gains very easily.
Yeah, they're poo-poo.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to say it. They're poo-poo.
Yeah, but I will say our the linebacking core has been, I think, probably been a really good strength for us though too, especially Deshaun White, who basically is in that sort of cheetah role. I mean, he is on another level to where I haven't really seen in quite some time. I mean, I don't want to say he's like Okoronkwo or anything like that, because he's not that edge guy or anything, but he just has another sense of going to the ball. Almost like, I would say, somewhat between like Okoronkwo and Tony Jefferson, when he was a free safety. It just has that sort of feel for, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of with the mixture of those two players. That's kind of how I see him more than anything.
So then how do you win this game for both of y'all? What do you do
Okay,
to win this game outside of what team is going to show up? Is it going to be the team that faced Kansas and Nebraska, or is it going to be the team that threw up on itself at West Virginia?
The first thing you have to do is, and this is, going to be the main thing, because other than Spencer Sanders, though, for the most part, the thing is that Spencer Sanders can actually have a good threat, where he can either throw or run the ball. You have to make him one-dimensional, and that is going to be the biggest key, because he can beat you both ways. I mean, OSU's offense, it's not like flashy or anything, but it's very efficient. And it's
Right.
like if you basically do, you take that one play, but if anything, if I'm OU at this point, I don't want to. I would have either like say Stutzman or White, basically set up as a spy for the most part, so that basically sort of just mirroring, Sanders' movements, so that way you're not getting beat, in different directions.
Right.
That is going to be the biggest things. I would say, have like some sort of spy or something to where, basically keep your eyes on, if anything, and that way you are not putting yourself in a different situation. Now, the other
Well,
thing
to be fair
is
though, Gavin, you haven't
yeah,
mentioned though that if we're talking the offenses, who's bringing the cold stick of butter and who's going to bring the brick, because that's what it's going to be, is the biggest glorified pillow fight in quite some time. Who's going to win?
yeah.
I,
I mean, that's just kind of where I'm just saying for OU, that's what they need to do on one side of offense, one side of defense. That's kind of my, sort of my takes away from it. That's what they need to do if they need to win.
I mean, we want them to win, so.
I mean, we want them to win, sure, but that's basically my two key points. So,
What about
okay,
you, Swiggy?
I would say if OU is going to win this game, they need to control the ball. They need to. Not every drive has to be some great big 7-minute drive, but even on drives where you don't score, you really want to control the ball, keep the ball out of Oklahoma State's hands as much as possible, limit their touches. I don't know if the offense can do it, but if we do it, I guarantee you we're going to win because we really hold the time of possession. If we're trying to win, of course we're trying to win, but if we're going to win, that's what it's going to be, and that's how it's going to have to be. I don't trust this offense to score at will. We need to control. We just need to control the ball and not have a bunch of 2-minute drives.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
in my opinion, you go crazy. Go for it on fourth down. If you don't trust your defense with it, go for it. The thing I'm
And
scared of is that we have the bottom of the barrel run defense, and even though Oklahoma State has struggled with it, you can run on someone that's terrible.
yeah.
That's what scares me the most.
Okay, and the other thing that I really want to bring up is, and this is something that we never really talk about. It's basically like field position awareness. I would say keep an eye whenever they're getting around to I would say near the 40 or 39 or so, where it gets into that 4-down territory. Because,
Yeah.
that is going to be something that's been a key factor the last several games, and that has been what's been winning and losing for OU. Has been, for, those 3-4 down conversions, because that's been, the biggest issue.
Yeah. I don't disagree. Like they have to get off the field, and they have to understand they're going to go for it on fourth down. Oh, you can't get off the field. That has to be something they keep in mind. I'm trying to look at some stats and stuff as we're going through this, because to be fair, while they can't run the ball, they do have studs. Like the biggest threat, as you mentioned, Gavin, is going to be Spencer Sanders' legs, in my opinion, and they've had trouble with it, with running quarterbacks at this point. I think you also have to keep in mind that they go all in on their wide receivers. So I mean, they have some guys on offense and they do have some guys on defense for it. So what about you, Swiggy?
Well, I mean that's yeah. I mean, if a run defense is going to be key, we need to have a good. I mean, it sounds basic saying have a good run defense and just stop them, but that's what it is. We do need to take advantage when we get them in that 3rd and long to not give up some yards and give them any incentive to go for it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that's a big thing. Get off the field, let the offense move, let the offense cook, and once just limit how much Oklahoma State has the ball,
I
because I just don't think anything good is going to happen if they have the ball.
I think you have to also build into these plays, these short pass plays to let it develop. Because, I mean, if you're looking at stats in the Big 12, Colin Oliver and Brock Martin are like the 6th and 7th best defensive guys who are getting into the backfield. They're getting sacks. I think the O-line has to hold up. You almost may have to use your tight end the entire game as another defender for it.
Yeah.
Maybe even sometime as
Yeah.
a blocker, which makes me think as well, if you want to win this game, for at least on the surface, you got to run some wildcat packages for it, because even against Texas, it did have success, and I think you have to throw that in there, and you hope that it can give Eric Gray a little bit of momentum
I
for it, because you know they're going to run it.
yeah. Yeah, and if anything though too, like even with that Wildcat package as well though too, I would be very interested to see because like there was like some plays that with West Virginia now. Now I know the one play that we're going to talk about, and yeah, I got flagged for it, but like that basically that that touchdown that they had, the Braden Willis and everything, where it had that where it was supposed to be behind the line of scrimmage and everything. The play calls were usually there, but it's like those simple executions or awareness of like where you are on the field or where you're throwing it to. That's got to be much more better. At the mindset. Where you're at for the most part. Because if anything, it's just kind of like at times, we just don't have like the situational awareness of like what needs to be done. When we get down the field,
Right.
that's going to be the major things. Because like, look, I'm fine with like, the little bubble passes, all that, or like the little underneath parts where it look like little screens or stuff. But if you don't pay attention of like where you get to, basically on the sort of issues with the line of scrimmage, it's going to basically hurt you further down the run.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, that's something to keep in mind as well, is the big thing at the end of the day is Oklahoma State. The defense we can talk about with it because they have studs. The Oklahoma State's entire offense revolves around Spencer Sanders. We've seen that when he was out, they look like complete garbage. To me, you shut him down, you are in a good position. Like you're able to start doing stuff at that point, because that's the same thing as while their run defense is bad as well with it, their pass defense is even horrible, even worse with it. So you hope that Marvin Mims remembers that he can catch the ball type of deal with it. It comes down to what team with it. So it's
Yeah, as long as we
just
don't have snow coming down, that's the main thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold. No snow though.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Let's
know,
see.
Swiggy, it's gonna be cold.
Yeah, like I'm not kidding you. I was even hearing this, over at work today. That is, going to be like at 35 degrees. So if you're going, you better bundle up and find a way to stay warm, fellas. I'm gonna
Man,
just stay inside and just enjoy it, watching in my warm, cozy home.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna freeze my ass off. It's gonna be glorious. I'm actually
You're
going with my
the
brother-in-law and my sister.
well. That shows you how much love you have for them.
No, I'm the one who invited them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's saying how much love you have for him. If you want to send him out in the cold watching this game that you know you're probably going to get destroyed.
You never know. I mean, here's the thing. There is no telling what team's going to show up. OU has problems, but so does OSU. Like OSU, they're both having a disappointing season. They're both bad. They're both dookie bad. OU has a little bit more desperation to get a win for this, but Oklahoma State, their stuff's gone too. Their return to the Big 12 title to try to win it, that's gone too. Like there's issues with it. So, any final thoughts, either of y'all, on Bedlam?
Better you freezing than me.
Thanks, Swiggy. Thank you. Gavin, anything?
Just don't be surprised if Oklahoma State starts choking itself like it has in the past.
I
We've
hope
seen
they
it
do.
before.
I would love that.
Well,
but
I'm just saying because, like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, and I know history doesn't take precedence this game. I know, but it's like, and we, like all the games that they've had in the past, like whenever they play against Oklahoma, they somehow, get something going, and then they get to the point to where they somehow choke themselves out or something like that, whenever it comes to OU. I don't know if it's just part of the psyche or something or anything. Now, last year, was a little different, of course. But don't forget, they don't have their, D coordinator who now went to Ohio State, and is doing well over there. So it's a lot of it. I feel like I am expecting it to where if both offenses are playing well, I'm going to be expecting a good shootout at this point.
I mean, if I was OU, I'd be just going for it on fourth down at this point a lot because I have no faith in our defense. They're going to stop anything, let alone a cold.
Yeah, and also make sure you wear the right equipment and not be slipping on the field.
Yeah,
that's kind of like, I'm sorry, but if you're the equipment managers or something like that, if I was a head coach and you got guys are dropping balls or anything or not wearing the right equipment, that's on you.
Yeah. Swiggy, besides that, any final thoughts? I'm taking that as a no.
Nope, I got nothing.
Okay. All right, then let's go do our favorite thing. Let's go into pick'ems for it. I don't have it up on here, but I will explain for it. So, obviously, I'm very happy. I'm going to say I'm very happy for them because we College Game Day, it's Montana versus Montana State. And if any of y'all have ever been to the actual campus, it's a fantastic campus. I love the University of Montana's campus. It's so pretty. It's if I didn't go to OU, it may have been Montana. Montana's pretty. Have either of y'all been up there?
No, I've never been to Montana.
Swiggy, have you been up to Montana? Have you made your way up to the Montana State?
I have not had a chance, unfortunately. Nope.
Oh, y'all got to. You got to. Well, College Game Day is at Montana versus Montana State. I highly recommend watching it just so you can see the background drop with it with the giant M on their campus because they have like a literal mountain on their campus and people will go up and hike.
That's
up there to watch it from the game down below. Huh?
They're the Grizz, aren't they? Or
yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Brent Musburger is actually from Montana, if I'm not mistaken, actually.
That I have no idea on. That's a good question. I don't know. I do know they say people climb up the mountain to watch the games for it because if you can make it up there, they're not going to stop you. Now it's like the nosebleed of the epic nosebleed, but people have a fun time. It's fun. So I'm trying to bring up the odds for it. So right now it looks like that Montana State is the favorite by 1.5 points. But they are playing at they're also playing at Montana. So we'll start Gavin. We'll mix it up a bit. Who do you got for me? Montana or Montana State? Montana State is the Bobcats. Grizz is Montana. The game is Saturday, 1 p.m. I think their time for it again at Montana State, and I believe Saturday. Montana State's weather Saturday. It looks like it's going to be a very, very brisk at kickoff, 26 degrees.
Only 20. Yeah, that's a little
Only-
warm. That's a
only
little warm for
26.
Montana.
But it's sunny.
But okay, I'm gonna go Grizz at this point because honestly, they actually have, and I'm not kidding you, like have quite a bit of success football wise, compared to
Yeah,
Montana
they're like a
State.
blue blood
So
in FCS
FCS. So it's like nothing
or
against
Division
Montana
2, whatever
State.
it is.
Well, no, they're FCS, so they're in the same league as North Dakota State. So I think if anything, I think Montana State's been somewhat on the rise and everything, but I just don't think they're on the same level with Montana. So I got to go with Grizz.
Okay. With the spread, 1.5.
Oh, I thought Montana State was the
Oh
favorite
no,
for
yeah,
some
you're
reason.
right. You're right. Andrew, who do you got for me? Grizz or the Bobcats?
Grizz, and they cover.
Well, no, the Grizz aren't on the
They're
spread.
covering by
sorry,
winning.
Yeah, that's right. They're covering by winning. That's what I mean. Sorry.
Absolutely. I am also going for the Grizz because I've been to their campus first, so I hope that they win at this point. So next one up is going to be the big noon kickoff, which pissed a lot of TCU fans off. They do not want a big noon kickoff. With it, they wanted a primetime game, and they were pissed that OU and OSU were picked for theirs. I went, guys, guess what? Don't be poor. This is what happens when you don't have the logo. I'm just saying.
I mean, even if you had the logo, we'd be on Big Noon Kickoff. Again, we'd be on Big Noon Kickoff somehow, some way.
Don't be poor. So
Yeah, we would have.
So obviously number 5 TCU at Baylor. It is a noon. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff local time. TCU is favored only by 2.5. That's the weird part. Only by 2.5. The reason is when TCU has gotten into these positions, Baylor has won. Weather is going to be partly cloudy on Saturday with about anywhere from 43 to 45 degrees at kickoff. There's not really a whole going to be a difference for because the high is 46. Andrew, who you feeling on this one? Anybody in particular?
I think OU. I mean, not OU. Sorry, TCU.
I was gonna say, damn, you're good, man.
Yeah,
That
I'm going
OU.
off there. I'm going off there. No, I think TCU's undefeated season continues, and I think they cover.
You know what? Funny enough, I agree with you with it. I'm also going to take TCU. I voted against them all season. At some point, you have to admit they are probably the dream team with it when we thought Tennessee was. I will also take TCU with the spread. You said the spread as well, correct?
Yep.
Gavin, who you got?
This is going to be where at times, not so fast, my friend. I am going against you, both of you guys.
Okay.
And the reason I'm just going to say this, TC has been going crazy with their offense or anything. Offense wins games, but defense is what matters the most here. And honestly, I feel a lot more better with having that Baylor defense than I would be, more than anything. Because, if anything that we've seen over the years, Baylor's defense has always been the stronghold front. So, and besides that, TCU did not look that sharp against Texas. So I think the Baylor defense will kind of expose them even a little bit more.
Okay. So you're going Baylor.
I'm going with the Bears. So.
Okay. All right, then. Next one we got up will probably give us a quick look of what the Pac-12 championship is going to be. Number 12, Oregon versus number 10, Utah. Both of them are 8-2. Oregon is favored by 3, and it is being played at Eugene, Oregon. Which the weather at kickoff is going to be on Saturday. Since it is a 10:30, it's going to be an 7:30 p.m. kickoff their time. It'll be about 30-ish degrees. So Oregon's favored by 3. You know what? I think Oregon's going to win, and I'm going to take them by the spread. I don't see Utah. Utah has found ways to throw up on themselves with it. I'm going to take Oregon with the spread with it. Gavin, who do you got for me? Oregon or Utah?
Well, let's see. Do I take Utah that has some of the, issues with throwing up on herself, or do I go with the picnics, if anything?
It's a hard decision.
Yeah, I mean, I will say for the most part, I would say I would probably go ahead and go with Oregon. Because they always do better when they're in Eugene. So
Oregon with the spread.
And I'll go with the spread. Yep.
Okay. Andrew, who do you got? Oregon? You got the Duckies, or do you got the Utes?
I got the Utes.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Utah, they've been playing better of late, and while Oregon has looked good most of the year, they finally met a little bit of resistance last week and folded. So I'm going the Utes.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Next up, I have tried to pick different games. It was very difficult to pick games this week, if I'm gonna not lie. So instead, I want to do something a little bit different for this next pick. Okay, if I can find it. Oh, they took it off. Never mind. I can't do it that way. I was gonna say Alabama versus Austin Peay, and will they cover the spread? Because I saw something like a 40-point spread. But no, they took it off, meaning I know that they think it's gonna win. Fine. Y'all are turds. Then fine, we'll go with USC, number 7 USC versus number 16 UCLA. Obviously it's going to play at UCLA at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. USC is only favored by 2 points in LA at this point. And the weather at kickoff is going to be probably in the upper 70s, maybe 68, 67. But I mean, you're playing at UCLA. Yeah, Andrew, who do you have for that one? USC versus UCLA.
I'm sticking with USC on this one. Everything I want to say UCLA, but USC has the talent and offense. It's still gonna be enough to cover up their defense. USC to win
and cover the spread.
Yep,
I agree with you. I'm going with that too. USC to cover the spread. Gavin, USC to cover the spread.
Yeah, I got USC covering the spread. It's talent wise, it's just not a match.
Yep, it is what it is. Now the next one, and I'm serious on this one. I did not pick this one to poke fun. I did not pick this one to because of the memes, because I do think there's a legitimate chance. So game number 5 is going to be Texas at Kansas. Texas is 6-4. Kansas is 6-4. Texas is favored by 9. Kickoff for the game, it is at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and the weather in Lawrence, Kansas on Saturday is going to be, let me bring it up, is going to be, the high is supposed to be 35. I'm going to be honest. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because my pick will change as a result of that. I believe Kansas's quarterback is back.
Yeah,
correct?
I think he is. Yeah, I think he is.
With the matchup, with how crazy it's been between both of them, with Texas just dropping basically a turd against TCU in the second half.
Well, because Ewers can't throw the ball. He just can't.
Correct. I think Kansas has a shot. Give me Kansas. It's not a joke anymore to pick it. It's a legitimate, does Texas get revenge for it? They could. They have Bijan, and Bijan's been running this year. I don't know, but I don't know. Gavin, Texas or Kansas? And I'm serious. Like I said, this is not for the memes. This is literally, it's going to be a solid game.
Oh man, I mean, I've been having a hard time wanting to say Ewers or anything. I mean, if Bijan Robinson can run through, Kansas, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, this is going to be at Lawrence, and I really want to look this up because I want to see when was the last time that Kansas has won back-to-back years, against Texas, because I'm not sure if that's ever happened in their program history,
I'll look
but
it up for you while you're talking on, because I can just look at Winsipedia.
yeah, I think if anything, I would say I'm probably gonna go with Rock Chalk.
Did break the records for it?
Yeah, to break the records for it. So
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Texas.
Oh, you're gonna. Well, Gavin, are you gonna go with the spread? By the way.
yeah, well, no, wait, I thought Texas
Oh
had
no,
it.
yeah, Texas is favorite. Yeah. So then, Andrew, are you going with the spread -9?
Yeah, I'll go with the spread. This feels like one of those games where it's like Texas comes back just enough. They had a bad one against TCU, but it definitely feels like they come back and have a good game against Kansas.
Gotcha. So Kansas has never won back. I mean, if you consider it like a 50-year margin essentially, or a 30-year margin from like 1901 and 1938, they've won a back-to-back. But like when they start playing consistently, no, they've never won a back-to-back. So finally, we've got Bedlam this weekend. OU versus
Okay.
OSU. It's in Norman. Kickoff is probably going to be really, really cold. That's all I'm going to say on it. Kickoff is at 6:30 at night. OU, for whatever ungodly reason, is favored by 7.5. I have no reason why they are favored at 7.5. So, guys, I'm going to take. Please, I'm going to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I am going to take Oklahoma State. I stand by that. I have to be fair but firm. There's too many red flags still with this team. Even with the history of it, I just do not see us beating Oklahoma State. I feel like we're in the same skid that we were not 3 weeks ago, where it was like bad, and then epic bad. I just see that. Gavin, who do you have for Bedlam?
I would probably. Man, this is gonna be rough.
I know this is a
Yeah,
tough one to pick because it's the biggest, most
yeah,
glorified pillow fight you will ever seen in your life.
yeah. I mean, and I've already given out my keys to the game, but I mean, if I was a betting man, I've got to say I would probably go ahead and just, I'm gonna be ridiculed on this, and I'm probably from work and everybody else around me, but gotta go with the Pokes as well because right now there's just too many inconsistencies right now within OU for the most
Yeah,
part.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Swiggy, who do you got?
Screw it. I'm a true believer in Oklahoma, and they'll cover.
Wow. I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right.
I do too.
Swiggy.
I do too. It's just hard to tell.
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And it's fair. It's fair. Either our picks, both of them are very fair. OU has not been consistent at all. It's very fair to pick against them. Oklahoma State, Gundy has thrown up on himself in these games. It is, look at 2009. They were ranked high and got shut out in Norman. So it's possible. Anything is possible with this game for it. It's just what team's going to show up. So
Yeah. And I'm
yeah,
gonna just throw this out because and this is just the record standpoint, but this hasn't happened yet. But the last time that OSU has won back-to-back years, yeah, you have to go back all the way back to 2001 and 2002. That has been the last time that they've actually been able to win back-to-back, and that's been the
yeah,
longest winning streak has been 2 games.
yeah,
Yeah, other than that, they haven't anything, just maybe like have win one occasional here or there, and then it's just a lot of long OU win streaks.
yeah.
So just a little history tidbit for you guys there, but that's been how long it's been since they've won back to back years.
Yep.
Even
Yep.
even during the '90s, they still put on a bit of a winning streak against OSU.
Yeah. I don't disagree, man. definitely one of those of yeah. So we'll see. Swiggy, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
My only real not a whole lot. Just this is gonna be an interesting week, and you know what? I still think this has a chance to be one of the most chaotic years since 2007. Chaos is a ladder. I'm going Team Chaos this weekend.
Again?
Why not?
I was gonna say again. So yeah. So guys, I want to thank y'all for joining me again tonight. I want to thank everybody for hopping on because we're almost wrapped up. We're in the final stretch. We're in the season finale of the 2022 season for the home schedule before we are at the real season finale next week against Texas Tech. And bizarro 6:30 p.m. kick. Bad things happen in Texas Tech at 6:30 p.m. kicks. Regardless with
Okay.
it.
Is this going to be the blackout game, do you think, or
For Tech, I have no idea. I mean, at the rate we're going, probably everyone's getting their chops in, and that's why I want to add on my Bedlam pick too. The reason I say the Bedlam pick, everything that seems to have gone wrong this year has epically gone wrong. West Virginia has never beaten OU. They beat OU this year. OU has, I think they said it's been a long time since.
But if you're in the same conference, that's bound to happen eventually.
Law of averages, but even against this West Virginia team, that was not good.
I mean, I'm not saying
beating,
I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying law of averages eventually comes up with it. So
I mean, that's fair. But yeah, anyway, comment, rate, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, guys, so you know when we go live, to hop on and join us and chit chat. We'll see everybody next week. Either we're going to be happy. I guess happy would be the word. It's more of if we win, it's like, yay, because we're now bowl eligible at least. Yeah, maybe we'll go 7-5. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, we will be here. So Boomer Sooner, guys. Only one Oklahoma. I'll see everybody here next week. Boomer Sooner.
see ya.
peace?